We're going over a few different types of passes in this video that are going to help you unlock defenses. The more of these passes you have mastered and know when to use in matches, the more dangerous of a playmaker you're going to be, the more assists you're going to get, and the more plays you're just going to be able to set up for your team. Let's get into it. Before we get into the first one, I just want to introduce you to the channel. This is Simplysoccer. My name is Dave, where we are creating videos every single week to help you improve your game and stand out on the pitch. I also have a free ebook you can get called Game Changer, which is 50+ pages of just incredible value, drills, exercises, so many different things you can get for free down below. So make sure you get that. Now, without further ado, let's get into the very first type of pass, starting in reverse order with number 4. And the first one we are going over is called the slide rule pass. And this is the most simple on this list, but that doesn't mean it doesn't take practice and skill to be able to execute this well. But essentially, this is the type of ball where you just keep it on the deck and play it through to your teammate behind the opposition. Sometimes this could be a simple pass behind the opposition for your winger who then gets in to make a cross. It could be a simple slide rule pass that puts your striker in or midfielder in or someone else to get in one-on-one with the keeper or to be able to pull it back or whatever else. What's really important with this pass is the timing and also the weight you put on the ball. Because if you play it too far ahead, you run the risk of the space closing down, it going out of bounds, an opponent getting there, or even the goalkeeper. If you put too little on it, they're not going to be able to really run free, or the ball might not even get there. And so the weight of this pass is so incredibly important. It needs to be pretty much spot on so that your teammate can run onto the ball, and then their next action can be something that's going to be dangerous or impactful. For example, if you play the ball through and they're in on goal, you want their next touch to either be a shot or one where they can go forward with the ball, with their momentum, so that they can set themselves up for the shot. Now, there's actually a few different ways you can play this type of pass. A lot of times it could be the simple one. You just see the obvious through ball pass and you play it. It could also be a reverse pass where you're turned in one direction and you cut it back for your teammate. You'll see a lot of players do that kind of pass. We've seen players like Jack Grealish, for example, and Thiago employ or deploy this kind of pass very, very often. But essentially, this is the simplest one we have on this list, but it's so necessary to learn because it's going to be one of the most effective that you use. You'll see Kevin De Bruyne also use this pass quite often, and when you get good at it, it doesn't matter that it's simple. If you can put the right weight on it, you can time it correctly, then defenses, when that opening is there, are not going to really be able to do much to stop you. Before moving on to number 3, put in the comments, I am a pass master. Go out there and practice these different things we're going over, and now we'll get into number 3. So this one I just like to call the quarterback pass. You'll hear a lot of commentators talk about this a lot with certain players who will be from deep and really spray balls out wide or even over the top, kind of like really driven balls, but in the air, to their teammates. And I like to call this just the quarterback pass. This is a very pinpoint and very skillful thing to be able to do. The example I'm going to give you is when Steven Gerrard was playing more in a deeper role in that season under Brendan Rodgers when they almost went for the title. I only give you this example because I watched all their games that season, and Gerrard would do this all the time. He would get the ball from deep and just spray it incredibly accurately to the other side or in behind for one of his teammates. I mean, he would sometimes even do it where he would just go directly for Suarez and play this incredibly driven ball that would sometimes bounce or just be directly in the air that Suarez would then control and then score. And this is the next type of pass. Now, there are so many benefits to being able to do this. Even if you're not putting your teammate in behind, you can quickly switch the play and have a new point of attack for your team, which can be very, very dangerous. For example, being on one side and spraying it out to your winger who will then attack the right or left back can be incredibly powerful transition play where it's now on the weak side where there's more space to work with and your team can work very quickly with that. It could be a pass where you go directly over the top to a run one of your players is making. And this is one of those passes that when you get really good at it, it's really hard to stop, because if you can accurately spray it to that person who's open where there's less or there's more space available and you can just hit that man every single time, it becomes quite a deadly weapon. Now, this is one of the most technically difficult passes because there is also an element of risk that is involved with this pass. If you leave the ball too short, it's going to get intercepted and potentially open your team up to the counterattack. And if you leave this ball or play it too long, it's going to go out of bounds and you're going to turn over possession. So this is something that I wouldn't start using in matches consistently like a Gerrard, like a Pirlo, like a Xabi Alonso, like these players did, or Kevin De Bruyne does. until you've gotten really, really good at it. You know, one of the best things you can do to practice this is just get to a wall and really practice the technique over and over again, and then get a teammate and really put them on the other side and practice receiving the ball and then quickly making this pass. Have someone make the run for you, or you can even do it into a net and pretend a teammate is running into that position. The more accurately you can do this and also do it quickly, receive the ball, quickly look up, and then play this pass instinctually, the more effective it's gonna be. But it is such a useful pass, such a deadly pass and weapon to have when you're good at it, that I definitely recommend working on this technique. So if you're enjoying this video so far, or you've gotten something out of it, please hit that like button and we'll move on to number 2. So number 2, I'm just gonna call the spin pass, and you probably know what type of pass I'm talking about when I mention that. Usually this pass will be a little further out. It can happen closer, but typically it'll happen a little further out because you're going to spin the ball around the defense or into space, either with the inside or outside of your foot. Those are the two techniques we can use here. And I'm sure you've seen many clever plays where a player will spin the ball, especially with the outside. It's a very skillful thing to do, almost around the defenders, but into the path of their striker. I've seen players like Lampard and Gerrard do this very often. I've seen Ronaldo, if you've seen that clip of him doing it to Benzema, and then he scores the goal on the first time touch. You know, there's many different ways to do this, but it's such a useful pass because what it actually does is it starts away from the defense. It keeps the ball away from them, but then brings the ball back into the path for your teammate. And so being able to do this at a distance, really bend it around the defense, either with the outside or the inside of your foot, into the path of your teammate, is such a valuable thing to do. I think we all remember also that Kevin De Bruyne pass where he played it in the 18-yard box and it went through to Sané, who finished it first time. That was this type of pass where he kind of curled it with the side of his foot around the defense, and then Sané was able to finish it first time. This is a deadly weapon to have. Again, it takes so much technique and so much accuracy to do, but it's another great one to have in your repertoire. I'm a big fan of actually using the outside of your foot too. It just gives you another dimension with these passes. The ability to quickly use the outside of your foot to bend it around a player, around the defense, or into space can be another very useful tool and really useful technique to work on, and something that's going to be amazing to have in your arsenal. And final pass I want to go over is the quick first time pass. And this one is so effective because the quicker you can play in control and cohesively as a team, the more damage you can usually do to the opposition, because I don't care how good a defender is, they're not going to be able to keep up with you for the most part if you're playing 1-2 touch passing accurately and cleverly. You know, you'll see a lot of times with first time passes, for example, a player will play it and then another player will flick it over the defense for that player to run on. You see Messi do this all the time actually with give and goes. The defense will do an effective job of covering any of his passing lanes on the ground, so he'll just flick it with the inside of his foot or outside of his foot over the defense onto his ongoing player. And these type of first time balls are so deadly when you can get really good at them. This includes little clever flicks with the inside of your foot, for example, between your legs, or just first time balls, because again, you're doing this so quickly, it doesn't really give the defense time to react. Now this takes a lot of skill because sometimes the ball could be played into you with quite a bit of speed, and to be able to execute a first time pass in those situations that's accurate and actually helps your team is very difficult, but it is something that is very useful. I'm sure we've all seen, you know, other plays where players will flick the ball onto their teammate and then put them in on goal, even at the professional top level. And it's because it's very unexpected and very, very skillful. But just getting used to being able to play a first time ball back in something simple like a give and go can also be a very, very deadly type of pass to be good at. Again, this one takes a lot of practice to get good at, because again, if you swing your foot at it and you haven't practiced this, it might just go not where you want it to go. You also need to worry about the pace you're putting on the ball because it's coming into you, you're not controlling it, and you're doing a first time pass. You have to really try and control the ball with that pass so it doesn't go too far, go too short. But when you get good at this, again, it can be just such a useful skill to put your teammates in behind, to get the ball to a teammate quickly where they can exploit that space. And so it's just another really great pass that can unlock defenses and help you out. All right, guys, so those are 4 different types of passes that are going to help unlock defenses. Now, of course, all of these passes require work and they require a lot of training to get the technique right, but these are 4 passes that are really going to help you in unlocking the defense. My recommendation is to start with the first one, the simple slide rule pass, because that is actually the one you will probably have more opportunities to do. It is the simplest one, but it's one of the most effective. And then you can start playing around with the other techniques and adding them to your game. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one.